Well, hello class. Welcome back to Flip Videos. And this is my despicable me coming back from the beach shop. Alright, we're going to talk about lesson 1-8 today. And lesson 8 is titled Multiplying and Dividing by Powers of 10. Alright, powers of 10. Now that sounds kind of intimidating, but it really isn't. It means just exactly what it said. Powers of 10 would be things like 10 to the first, which is 10. Or 10 squared, 10 to the second power, which is 100, 10 times 10. Or 10 to the third power, it means 10 times 10 times 10, which is the same thing as 1,000. So really all we're talking about here is multiplying and dividing by things that are basically a 1 with a bunch of zeros after them. So multiplying and dividing by 10, multiplying and dividing by 100, multiplying and dividing by 1,000. And you've seen these before, usually with integers. So for example, if we did 43 times 10, you probably know one of the easiest multiplication rules going is when you multiply something by 10, you just add a 0 to it. So you get 430 for that one. Okay. If I do 128 times 100, well, the trick is you basically just count how many zeros there are after the 1, and that's basically what power of 10 you're looking at. So 100 is 10 to the second power. And so you add that many zeros. So this is 128 with 2 extra zeros. Go back and put the comma in, and you get 12,800. And one more, if I take 105 times 1,000, 1,000 has 3 zeros, so that would equal 105,000. Put a comma in, we get 105,000. And you've probably seen all these before, and so we don't really need to spend a lot of time on them. What's new, however, is suppose you're multiplying a decimal times a power of 10. Well, what we're really doing on those previous examples, when I add a 0, that isn't really the rule. The rule really is, if I have 43 and I multiply by 10, I really just take the decimal at the end of 43 and I move it 1 to the right. What I'm really doing in 128 is I'm moving the decimal because I'm multiplying by 100, that's 2 zeros. I'm moving the decimal 2 to the right. And the same thing with 105. I'm moving the decimal 1, 2, 3 to the right. Now, if there's nothing on the right, which is the case when we have an integer, then we go ahead and add a 0. But back to the slide that we just had here, if I take a look at these problems where I take a decimal and I multiply by a power of 10, okay, this is 10 to the first power, this is 10 to the second power, and this is 10 to the fourth power. What really is going on here is the decimal here is moved 1 place to the right because I multiplied by 10. So this becomes 432.7. The next one, I'm going to move 2 places because there's 2 zeros. So what I'm really doing is moving the decimal point. Okay, so this one's going to become 1.28. And the final one, I'm going to go ahead and write down 3405. I'm going to put my pencil right here where the decimal used to be, but I'm going to move it 1, I'll move it 1, 2, 3, and I'm out of places, so this one's actually going to end up moving 4 places. So this one, just like before, is going to add an extra 0 at the end. And if I go back and I put my comma in, I get 34,050. Okay? So what's really going on in the earlier examples is that I am technically moving decimal points, not just adding zeros. Okay, so that's the basis of this lesson. Now, if I divide by those same powers of 10, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, what's going to happen then is I'm going to move the decimal just like I just did, but instead of moving the decimal to the right, I'm going to look at what power of 10 I'm dealing with, and I'm going to move the decimal to the left. So on this first one, we're dividing by 1,000. Now 1,000 has 3 zeros. So I'm going to take 2,300, or 2,300, and I'm going to take those 3 zeros, I'm going to move the decimal, which is technically right there, 1, 2, 3 places to the left, and I'm going to get, came out a little bit weird, I'm going to get 2.3, and I can actually stop right there and not put those extra zeros in. Okay, the second example, I'm dividing by 100, that's got 2 zeros, so I'm going to move it 1, 2 places to the left, and that's going to leave me with 1.2502. And the last one I'm dividing by just plain old 10. There's only 1 0, so I move the decimal 1 place to the left, and I get 2 0.875. So that's basically it. Count the number of zeros, and that tells you what power of 10 that you're dealing with, whether it's 10 to the first, 10 to the second, 10 to the third, and so on. And if you're multiplying by one of those powers, move the decimal point in the original number to the right, that number of places. If you're dividing, move the decimal to the left. And that really is all there is to it. So tomorrow in class, we'll practice a whole bunch of these because they won't take very long. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide the next lesson up into 2 videos and 2 nights and 2 days in class. And we're going to be focusing on long division. So we've talked about this before in class, and it's just something that we're going to be very deliberate about so that we can all get really good at it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed tonight's lesson. Hope you enjoyed getting back in the swing of things. Had some technical troubles at school, so I've been trying to get this video uploaded since about noon today. So hopefully you'll find it, and I will see you tomorrow in class. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.